Welcome, everybody, back to Friar Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about former MVP Cody Bellinger. As you guys know, Cody Bellinger has kind of completely fallen apart, and he is now a free agent. He was scheduled to make, I think it was 17 million. Dodgers declined that pretty obviously after the last couple of years. But he is going to be a free agent, and he's probably the biggest or one of the biggest boom bust potential kind of guys on the free agent market right now. On one hand, he's been really bad the last 2 years. Last season, he barely hit over 200. Did not have a good year. Was worth less than 2 WAR. Playing center field, and he's a good center fielder. He's a good fielding center fielder. But he just can't hit. He can't hit the high fastball. And you see that pitchers consistently they bring a lot of velocity if it's a 2-strike count, and they just throw a fastball high, and they just challenge him over and over and over with high fastballs. And he has not been able to adapt after these past couple of years. But I still find him very intriguing. It's really hard to gauge what he's going to actually get on the open market. But Isaac, I know you are a big Cody Bellinger fan, and we've talked a lot about potentially having the Padres bring him in. A lot of questions where that would be, if that would be center field, if you moved Grisham, if he could play first base. A lot of different kind of spots where you could put him. But Isaac, do you still like the idea of the Padres potentially bringing in Cody Bellinger?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many questions that would have to be answered when it comes to Cody Bellinger. I want him. Like, I will say it. I kind of want Cody Bellinger. Like, just thinking, all right, you got this former MVP that still has all sorts of bounce back potential. He's got a connection with the Padres. The guy's name's Logan White. I forgot what his role is with the Padres right now, but back when Cody Bellinger was, going through the whole draft process and everything, Logan White was one of the guys that was like, hey, like, we have faith in you. And when the draft came around, he called Bellinger, told him like, hey, we're about to take you right now. And, this is kind of the guy that I guess helped pave the way of Cody making the major leagues. And the Dodgers were one of the few organizations that placed that faith in him. So that connection is there. There's a connection right there that everyone's going to be talking about. Maybe not everyone, but at least us Padre fans kind of know of, and it's kind of been brought up when it comes to talks with Cody Bellinger. Problem is, if you do get Cody Bellinger, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm sure Trent Grisham becomes a trade piece, but even then, Cody Bellinger only wants a 1-year deal. So what are you going to do after that year? That's probably something that now that could either be a future concern that you're thinking of now, or you're thinking, yeah, we'll figure it out. Most of the time with AJ Preller, it's, yeah, we'll figure it out. I like that. Honestly, I think that's super cool. I like that. It's more of a, we'll figure it out next year. We got time. A lot of things could change within the next year, and it's baseball. Things happen really fast. I want Cody Bellinger, but what's the cost? Is it the 20 million that's being rumored? Is it the 17 million that he was going to be owed with the Dodgers? Is it less because he's put up 2 significantly underwhelming seasons? Nobody knows. I feel like there might be a team that pays up just based off, oh, he was a 2019 MVP, put up an absurd WRC plus, this many home runs, one of the best bats, and one of the best seasons I've seen for sure. But what is the root for his major downfall? Why did it happen so fast? A lot of people blame the injury that happened to him in 2020 when he hit the home run. I think it was in the NLCS or in the World Series. A lot of people blame that injury, but it is more than just that injury. It's what was it, like a foot or shin or something like that? Ankle, I don't know, something in his leg. There's that injury too, where he had to change his swing. He kind of sort of had to change his stance a little bit. And from what I've seen, apparently he's just taking a little bit of his power, some of his power away. So there's more than just a shoulder. It's multiple injuries that have kind of, I would say, played into his downfall. And that's the thing, is that we have a guy that is coming off a major injury that is actually the same. So if it's the shoulder, then yeah, it comes a little bit of concern. I think Fernando's going to be fine. But in terms of just the talent, you look at the talent and you say, this is kind of a guy that everyone's going to try getting because he is one of the more talented players in baseball. I would assume that most guys in the league still think this guy has it. Most organizations in the league most definitely think this guy still has it. I think the Dodgers are going to do everything they can to bring him back. Defensively, he's fantastic. He's athletic. He can make all the plays that I see every other center fielder make. Problem is, you already got a great a great defensive center fielder. So at the plate, do you think Cody Bellinger is worth the upside that Trent Grisham doesn't necessarily bring? Or maybe to the Padres, it seems like they think he does bring it. Um, if I were to make the decision, I don't think Trent Grisham has much upside. I think Cody Bellinger has much more, but he also is going to get paid a lot more money. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. Where would Cody Bellinger even play? Would he play center field consistently? Or maybe against righties, you would have him at first base. You would have him at first base. Maybe if you really want to throw him in against lefties, you throw him out in center field. You put Fernando at short, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of things that could be done. But I don't know if he's going to be on AJ's radar because I think AJ's going to prioritize that money to go get pitching. Kodai Senga, bring back Josh Bell, something like that. But if they had the money, I would say, yeah, go get Cody Bellinger because this guy's got all the talent in the world, all the upside in the world to be able to have a bounce back season, to kind of be the guy that can change your season. Like this is the guy that can possibly get you an extra 4 or 5 wins, something like that. But are you going to get that guy? You're going to be going to get the guy that significantly had one of the biggest downfalls I've ever seen in a Major League Baseball player. A guy that's chase rate is just his play discipline horrific. A guy that keep getting beat by high fastballs. A lot of things have gone wrong for Cody Bellinger, and I don't know if the Padres are going to be able to fix it.
That is one of my main concerns. Is I'm on the if we have the money and if he's cheap enough, I'm all board for Cody Bellinger. But the question is if the Dodgers couldn't fix him after 2 years, is there going to be a team that can? All that talent is still there. It is just locked away in some sort of either mental thing at the plate where he's trying to do much, or it's stance again where after the 2019 season, he changed his stance a little bit, or it was after the 2020 season, he changed his stance a little bit, and he's been suffering the price to pay for most of that. I believe in 2021, he started to stand more upright and stand more tall, and he's been getting beat by the high fastballs. He used to have that basically hole in his swing where if you throw him a slider or curveball down and in, it's basically an automatic K. I mean, we all witnessed that against the Astros. It was a very major hole in Cody Bellinger's plate appearances, and it tore him apart. So, there's those things. But on the upside, the guy's got an arm. He's fast. He can hit for power. We've seen the electric plays he makes on defense. It gets a team going. He can play a really good first base on top of that. He can play center field. He provides you more versatility. But are you going to be able to unlock the bat? I mean, we already have Trent Grisham where he hit like 15 home runs, but had like a 660, if not under 660 OPS, where it's just brutal to have. It is basically a hole in your lineup. It's like having Ryan Schimpf in center field. It's not a very good feeling to have. Cody Bellinger would be the same way if he doesn't click. If everything doesn't click for him at the plate, he'd be basically the same thing, but more expensive, and he could play an emergency first base. That's basically the upside. Is he probably plays just as good as center, has a little bit better of an arm, but he can play first base, and he has the potential to be one of the better bats in your lineup just because of the seasons he had before 2020. But how much he's going to make, he's only asking for a 1-year deal, but is he going to demand the money expecting that I'm going to prove everybody wrong and I'm going to go back to my MVP caliber self? Or is he going to take the money that he somewhat deserves right now and take a little bit less because his last 2 seasons, you really can't afford to pay him more than $10 million based off of production at the plate. So it's sort of a spectrum of how much is he going to get paid, how much of this money can we pay him, and is it worth spending this money on Cody Bellinger rather than getting starting pitching or fixing up first base or getting another left fielder? Or there's a few different holes that the Padres need. I don't know if Cody Bellinger is in the best spot for the Padres to go get him, and I don't know if the Padres are in the best spot for him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I mean, we've talked about Cody a decent amount, and we've talked about him potentially becoming a Padre. I think in terms of if you don't really look at it on paper, you're just like, all right, like Cody Bellinger, what do you guys think? It's like, oh, very intriguing, very very intriguing. Even though if you look at his numbers, you're like, this guy sucks. But then you look in the past and you go, okay, well, was one rookie of the year. 2019, he was the MVP. 2020 is kind of that weird COVID year. He took a little bit of a down. It was pretty similar to his 2018 season. And then last year, he's awful, right? He's horrible in 2021. He has a fracture in his leg at the beginning of the season. And that's more of, we read an article, and you guys didn't bring it up, but we read an article about kind of what injury affected Cody the most. And a lot of people bring up the shoulder one in 2020. But this article was basically saying, no, it was the leg fracture because he changed the way that he like distributes his weight and the way that he like stands. And it wasn't necessarily that the injury made him do it, but that he was coming back from the injury. So he basically had to adjust the way that he transferred his weight, and he's not been able to change that. Now, I'll argue, I don't think it's something that small where we can look at it and go, yeah, it's just that little kind. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I'm totally wrong and it is. But I think it's a little bit more than that. I think that he gets the way that he gets overpowered by guys with high velocity fastballs is kind of ridiculous. But you look at it and you go, okay, well, even in 2021, last year or 2 years ago, I guess, he was good in the playoffs. He was ridiculous in the playoffs. Like, I mean, similar to kind of how Trent Grisham was for the Padres early on in the playoffs this year. So it's just tough because you've seen this guy succeed at the highest level. You've seen him just be a phenomenal player, but then you've also seen him be downright atrocious, like downright horrible at the play. I mean, in 2021, he didn't play a full season. I think he had like 350 at bats. He had like a mid 500 OPS, and he hit 165. So you see how bad that is? But then another thing that you can even throw in and go, well, yeah, he hit 165 and had a 540 OPS last year coming back from injury, right? Like totally screwed up. Well, then you could look at this year and you could kind of even play the other card and go, well, he improved. His OPS went up over 100 points and his average went up 50 points. So it's really weird. It's a really weird case. Isaac, you said that you don't think you've ever seen a player fall off this much. We were talking about Yelich and Cody before. It's really odd. Another guy that you can kind of think of is like Grady Sizemore a while back, but that was like all injury. So who are you going to say?
Chris Davis on the Orioles.
That's a good one too. Dude, it's just weird when it happens, but it does happen a little bit more frequently in baseball, I would say, than in other sports where it's like, in most other sports, it's like, oh, this guy in football isn't that good. It's like, well, what happened? Oh, he tore his Achilles. Yeah, of course he's not good. He's not fast anymore. He's cooked. Like, it's like in baseball, it's like, oh yeah, his mechanics are a little bit different, but he just is awful now. It's really strange. But I don't know. I don't think Cody makes much sense for the Padres just because you have Trent Grisham there. Trent Grisham outperformed him last season. Trent Grisham was awful last season. He was the worst hitter in baseball, and he outperformed him. Now, they're both plus defenders. They're both fast players. The issue for both of them is they can't really use their speed because they're never on base. But it's just like one of those things where you're looking and you're going, is it really worth it to spend $7+ million more likely on a guy in center field than what you currently have in center field? And also a guy that if you do end up getting Cody Bellinger, if you sign Cody Bellinger, you're trading Trent Grisham, right? Like, I don't think there's any chance that he doesn't play first. You can't bring Cody into the building. Like, it makes more sense to bring Will Myers as your starting first baseman all year than it does to sign Cody and put him at first because of their offensive numbers recently. And that's what I think. So you can bring him in to play center, but your future becomes a lot more uncertain because Trent Grisham has like 4 years of control left. I'm not a big believer in Trent Grisham, but Trent Grisham at $2.8 million, producing roughly the same at Cody Bellinger at 10, it's pretty obvious who you would want. Now, the question is, which Cody are we getting? So that's going to be the biggest thing. I think for me, I think it's a hard pass just because it's very intriguing on one hand, but like, I don't think it makes much sense. And I just think that you need to go get 2 starters. Go get Cody, go get Senga, right? Go bring back Josh Bell. Go do different things than bring in Cody Bellinger. But I still like Cody Bellinger, even though he's a Dodger. I do still like him as a player. But I just don't think I don't think it makes sense for him to be a Padre at this point.
Yeah, and the whole problem with his injury that you were talking about, Matt, in that article is that when you try and change your swing to aid to an injury, you do it for so long that even when the injury becomes less significant or healed, it became muscle memory already. You know how long it's going to take for you to go back to what you were doing before? It's not baseball is not something where you change things instantly. It takes many at bats. It takes weeks. It takes sometimes for some guys even months. It takes multiple reps. Um, that's the problem with Cody Bellinger is that when he was trying to aid to his injury, he changed his stance even just the slightest bit, and it's just all been down to shit ever since. Um, Now the problem, and I mean, the whole thing, Trent Grisham. Yeah, Trent Grisham makes less money. I mean, shoot, he put up like a 1.8 or a 2 WAR while being one of the, if not the worst hitter in baseball. So there's upside there. Like the Padres see it. I don't know if I see it too much. I mean, his play discipline is not very good. He strikes out a lot. He gets beat on fastballs. Really, his moment to shine was in the playoffs, and luckily for him, that was on national TV. So a lot of people probably think, "Damn, this guy's pretty damn good." No, he's not that good. Um, is there potential for him to be really good? Yeah, we saw the potential in a 60-game season in a very, very small sample size. That was the problem. It was a 60-game season. But even in that 60-game season, there were underlying issues. It was that plate discipline, it was that inconsistency, it was the strikeout rate. Everything was there, but he was just hitting for power. He had his hot streaks the same way he had them this year and the year before. He had his hot streaks. That were significantly improving his numbers. And you could say the same for Jake Cronenworth. Jake Cronenworth has his hot streaks, he has his cold streaks, but he's a lot more consistent. And I mean, he puts up 4 WAR, so they're not very similar. Um, Now, let's say the Padres got Bellinger, can't get rid of Trent Grisham. You throw Cody Bellinger in right field where he won the MVP. That it was the position. He played like 115, 120 games there. You throw Juan Soto in left field because he's got some experience there too. And it's much easier to play left field than right field at Petco. We saw Juan Soto have some difficulties in right field. I think they're a little overblown, but let's say the Padres are concerned with his defense. You throw him in left field, you put a great glove in center field, you got a great glove in right field, but what do you do about first base? What do you do about pitching? What do you do? Shoot, even about your backup catcher position, what are you going to do? Because do you have faith? Do you finally have faith in Luis Campusano? I don't know if they do. It seems like they hate him. It seems like he's getting like Francisco Mejia treatment. Um, Now, I do think Campusano has potential to be better, but there's just so many questions that arise if you do sign Cody Bellinger. Does he answer any of the questions you currently have? Yeah, he fills a spot, whether it's right field or center field. If you really want to say that's an upgrade based off last year or even the last 2 years, no, not really. It's not. But the upside tells you, yeah, it is. The name tells you, yeah, it is. The history tells you, yeah, it is an upgrade. But we can only go based off what we've seen lately, and it's been very discouraging. Um, I love Cody. I want Cody. I mean, just for the name, just for the excitement, I want Cody. But when you really think logically, it's got to be it doesn't have to be a no, but there's a lot of red flags there.
I'm just gonna say I agree. I think you guys have covered it all. Basically anything I say after this is just gonna be redundant to y'all. But it's one of those things where, yeah, if a team can unlock his potential, they got the greatest steal of all time. But they also have the potential to be wow, they struck out and paid this guy $10 million for a guy that can produce the same thing for a rookie contract.
And we're trying to win now. Remember, we're trying to win now. We can't afford another horrible contract.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys, and honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm just thinking like if they do not have that much money to spend, even if they do have some money to spend, if they go and get Senga, like I don't even think they're gonna sign a Josh Bell. Like I don't think they really can. Like I don't know if I don't think that is might not be a possibility. So like bringing Cody into it, like I just don't see how it would possibly happen. And like we were all like intrigued by Cody like throughout the year and stuff like that. We were talking about like, yeah, I mean, this is a guy, and like I don't know how much we talk about it on air, like when we were recording after series and stuff, but he was a guy where it was like Yeah, future Padre right there. And like we'd always kind of joke around about, oh yeah, Cody's a future Padre, and we've been saying that for like 2 years now. But it's like if you really think about it, it doesn't really make any sense. Just because me just thinking like off the top of my head, I feel like it makes more sense right now than anything for the Padres to bring back Will Myers and kind of like you're saying, like figure it out with like what they have. And maybe that means you move Juan Soto to left field and Will Myers plays right field sometimes and Fernando plays right field sometimes. And then sometimes Myers plays first and then you add another power bat and you're like, all right, that's what we're going to rock with on offense. That very realistically could happen. And that's all they do is they bring Myers back and it's like, okay, well, they only spent 10 million bucks on their offense. And it's like, yeah, but they kind of did patchwork and then they signed a great starter. And then they traded for a great starter. That's probably the most likely route than like, and I know Abreu already signed, but like an Abreu or like a Bellinger or a Bell or like one of these like really good bats. Maybe Mancini we can toss in as like a first base DH option as well. I think that would make sense. He's not going to get a lot of money. But I think anyone in like, when you start getting like up like 10 to 20 million bucks, I just think offensively, I think it's hard to believe that the Padres are going to do that. Now I want them to do that. Like Isaac, you said I want Cody Bellinger to be a Padre. Yeah, screw it, man. Tossing 50 million on the offense, 50 million on the pitching. Let's go all in this next couple of years. I would love to see that more than anything. I think most fans would. It's not our money to spend. We just want to see a good team. So it's like I want to see that side of it. But if we're thinking about what the Padres are actually going to do, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. And for that reason, I don't really think Cody Bellinger makes any sense at all. I guess, even though I like him, like, and it would be cool, but it's a little weird for the Padres, but I don't know. Let us know what you think. You like the idea of bringing in Cody for the potential? I have a feeling that most people are. It's going to be a hard pass for them. But if you do think that that's the case, like make your case. I'm all ears. I like the idea of seeing a bounce back year from him, and I'm not counting that out either. I just think that it's very risky for where the Padres are at and how close they are to what we think is their kind of limit of spending. We're not really sure. That keeps being said. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to sign Juan Soto to $500 million contract. It's like, okay, well, are they just like, is this just always wrong? Everyone's like, oh, they can't bring in Manny Machado. Oh, they can't do this. They can't that just keeps being said. So there's also that element of it too. So time will tell, but I don't know if Cody Bellinger is going to be a Padre now and maybe in the future, but I don't really think that'd be the case. But all right, guys, let us know what you think. And we'll talk to you guys very, very soon.